Love you.
Well, Brad, how are you doing?
I'm all right. I'm all right. I've had a lot of family in town. It's been busy, but I guess that's good, like seeing people. It's just logistically tough.
Yeah, this is why I don't have kids. They're difficult to organize, like herding cats.
Yeah, it's like my older sister and her 3 kids were in town, and then my younger sister and her 3 kids are arriving this week, and my cousin and her 3 kids were in town.
Were they all staying with you?
No.
Oh, thank God. Jesus Christ.
And I felt like sort of bad. I was like, if I were a good person, I would be like, yeah, come stay with us. But like our house.
And then if they were good people, they'd be like, we'll stay in a hotel anyways.
Yeah. Like, first of all, I should just say that as a personal matter, I mean, I guess we have stayed at my little sister's house for the holidays, but like that's because they invited us because they want the kids to all be together at Christmas.
Right.
But generally speaking, I would never stay at anybody's house.
No, never. I would always stay at a hotel. Even if it was like Christmas, I'd probably be like, we'll stay at a hotel except for Christmas night. And then the kids can have a sleepover that night. Like it's like anything besides that just feels like too much.
Yeah, it's a lot. But then
unless you're like a really rich person.
I'm just like thinking to myself, like, yeah, they don't think we're assholes for not inviting them.
I mean, it's your sister, right? Like, I feel like if it were my brother, I would just be like, am I an asshole for not inviting you to the house? Like, I would, but it's not comfortable. Like,
right. I guess you should just say, I don't know. It's just like...
But I don't know. People have different relationships with their siblings than I do.
Well, and cousins, and like, I don't know what's expected, I feel like pretty like easygoing, family-oriented people would be like, yeah, just come stay. And like, for me, I think it's because I work at home too. It's just like...
And the thing about that is like your family will be like, oh yeah, like come stay. And then like quietly they're going to be having like a whole meltdown about it and be like, oh my God, we have to clean the whole house and we have to like get them a guest room and do all this shit. Like, it's like, you can be like, oh, friendly, no big deal. But like, it's a big deal for anybody who does that.
Yeah, it's a lot. So anyway, just doing all that and
I live in a 1-bedroom apartment. So no one's asking me to stay over unless it's like my friend Janice, and then we just like sleep in my bed for 4 days and Tyler sleeps on the couch, and that's pretty much
that's how it happens. Wait, she's the only person who has access to your apartment?
No, plenty of people have access to my apartment, but like there's one bed and there's a couch. So if they're sleeping over, they're either sleeping on the couch or they're sleeping in the bed with me and Tyler's sleeping on the couch.
We should make note of the fact that I have never been in your apartment. I've never been invited to your apartment. There's been no...
Oh, no, that was my last apartment you came to.
Briefly.
Well, Brad, you are welcome over anytime. It's a total mess. And I have a big collection of calico critters, but maybe you'll like it.
What's a calico critter?
Wow. Is this a new early Brad Learns segment?
I think it might be.
Okay, let's see. Hold on. Calico critters are known as Sylvanian families in Europe, and they are these little toys. For those who are not watching the program, these are just the ones that I had nearest by.
Wait, you collect these?
I've got so many, it's humiliating, and I won't show. Oh, wait, this is my favorite one, though. I have one that's a nun. That's from the 80s.
Wow.
See?
Okay.
They're like these little guys, and they come in like little outfits.
So are you going to like eBay these things? I saw that you have it still in the package. Like, are you like a collector for real?
No, I just like the way that they look.
Oh, you do?
They come in pretty packages where like they have like a little background and stuff, and they just look nice.
These are like superhero superhero action figures for women.
For me, I think mostly they're for children. I don't know if they're for adult women besides freaks such as myself. But I don't know. I like miniatures. I'm not even going to show you the miniature scale model of like a 1970s drug den that I made, because that's going to make me seem really psychotic. But I made a tiny stripper pole and tiny money all over the stripper pole and a little mirror with cocaine on it.
What's the cocaine? What is the cocaine made of?
It is baking soda.
Baking soda. Okay. That would be pretty. It'd be pretty punk rock if you actually use cocaine.
If I had cocaine to use, I would. I don't even like snorting it, so why not put it in the... I don't like snorting it anymore, I should say. So why not put it in the 70s drug den miniature? But I don't have any cocaine, and it's too expensive for me now, so...
All right. Well, let's do some... I think we have some listener feedback. Is that correct?
It looks like we do. Would you like to read that out, Brad?
Yeah, there's a letter from a listener named Matthew. It's 2 parts. Number one, he says, if the Hawk Tuah girl somehow had an accident and lost her
I'm
short.
never gonna fucking escape this girl. She is gonna just be there. Just every fucking episode, you're gonna have a new piece of news about to a girl.
I sent you. I think I sent you a link. She met RFK Jr. She's all over there. She's going to be at the Democratic.
Like extra insane though. It was like she met JFK Jr. at like a Bitcoin NFT convention, like where she was like a guest star for some reason. Like,
I think Kamala is going to seek the coveted Hawk Tuah endorsement. I think it's coming.
Well, I mean, if she gets that, she is a shoo-in. I mean, how could she ever lose?
So Matthew says, number one, if the Hawk Tuah girl somehow had an accident and lost her short-term memory and had no idea what was going on or why people were calling her Hawk Tuah, how would you explain to her how she had become famous?
Brad, would you like to take this one first?
I
want to know what your answer is.
I think that
a young woman with her innocent face, not knowing what she's done, not knowing why she's famous.
I think that Hawk Tuah, when she spoke for the first time, the phrase, or not for the first time, but when she spoke on camera, that phrase Hawk Tuah, and she made that joke that like launched her into superstardom. I don't think it was the first time she'd made that joke. That's what I think. And I think that was like the whole thing was,
or like Hawk Tuah, and she'd be like, "Oh,
yeah, I know what Hawk Tuah is." I think it's something she and her like Tennessee buddies had, like, that's a joke they had made before. That's how it felt.
That feels realistic. I feel like that's right. But you'd have to be like somebody came up to you with a microphone while you were out drunk with your friends and asked, "How do you please a man?" And you said Hawk Tuah, and then the whole, like, it's like so many steps. Like, it's
right. But I don't think any of it would be that big of a surprise to her, is the thing. Like,
yeah.
Oh, I was drunk. Oh, some guy came up to us on the street in Nashville. I mean, I think what would be a surprise is just the simple fact that it made her famous. It's just so, yeah. I will continue to find that whole thing fascinating for that reason. Just that, like, that's how you get famous in this world. It's so fucked up. But
I would simply tell her that she made a racist joke about Native Americans on a microphone, and now everyone's mad at her.
Yeah, I don't know. But I mean, the other thing I want to know is I really do want to know how much money she's raking in from all this. Like, I would love to know.
I read that she got something like $30,000 for a club appearance.
Yeah, and she's doing multiple of these. Like, she's all over. She's on tour, right?
She can buy a house after this.
Good for her. I mean, honestly, good for her.
Good.
And like a house in Tennessee where she lives is probably relatively affordable. So
her and her grandma, she can have a nice house in her little town.
Get herself a swimming pool. That's great. So Matthew has a second part to his letter where he says, number two, he says, Kamala Harris, if she wins, will be our first and arguably Gen X president. The key question, therefore, that needs to be asked is, which Breakfast Club character is she? Mm. So I think you were raising your finger because I think technically she's not Gen X. She's like I want to say she's 1 year out of it. She's right on the cusp. I mean,
she's really on the cusp. Like, I put my finger down because I was like, well, because she's like 60, I think. She's
59. And okay. I think actually she's probably like at the oldest end of the Gen X range. I'm maybe closer to the youngest.
Yeah, she's only like a year or two out, though. It's like, that's fair.
And I think maybe her sensibility, like some of this stuff is arbitrary. Like, is it the year or is it like your attitude and general orientation to the world?
Right. For example, everybody views me as Gen Z despite being millennial because of my youthful glow. So
people don't mistake me for a millennial. They're like, yeah, that motherfucker is. Some people think I'm a boomer.
Such as me. I think I've called you a boomer a lot of times.
I think I'm very Gen X.
Yeah, you are.
I'm very Gen X. And I think too that Gen X is, as being like a smaller and more overlooked, generational block. And by the way, I hate these distinctions anyway. I hate these arguments about which generation is good. Like,
they're all
up.
Bad.
We got to grow up. Yeah, we're all bad.
Yeah.
But I do think Gen X, in a general sense, is sort of hungry to have some representation in the country. Like
they've always been. They're always just like, nah, like, look at us.
We're like the middle child syndrome or something, like overlooked. Yeah.
Always just like yelling, being like, I don't like this or that thing. Everyone's selling out.
So Kamala Harris, if she wins, which Breakfast Club character would she be? Okay, so I can
You
speak
have an
with.
answer for this, I can tell.
Well, this is again, I'm a Gen X. This movie was formative. These John Hughes teen movies, which frankly have not aged all that well.
No, they have not. I weirdly watched a movie last night that had the goth girl from Breakfast Club in it, and I was remembering how annoying her plotline is, where she gets happy and she's like, I wear pink suddenly.
Yeah, yeah,
Offensive to goths.
yeah. It's very strange. But I made my daughter watch Breakfast Club with me.
How'd
She,
she like it?
she was like, "This is kind of weird."
Yeah.
But I would say that there is no Kamala Harris in Breakfast Club. It's the whitest movie ever. And
So, like, if Kamala Harris was white, would she be someone in Breakfast Club potentially?
not really, because
Cancel.
there's only two girls. It's Molly Ringwald, who's like the princess, and then it's
Goth.
Ali. Goth is like kind of a stretch. She's just weird. She's like
No.
got
Yeah, she's not
dandruff.
goth.
She can't talk until the end. I mean,
If anything, she's one of the dudes. Like, if anything, she's like maybe one of like the like. Is one of them kind of a druggie? Is one of them kind of a stoner?
yeah, Judd Nelson plays
Not quite.
Bender.
No.
No, and she's not the jock, and she's not Anthony Michael Hall, to whom I was often compared when I was a child. If there was a celebrity to whom I was compared, it was Anthony Michael Hall in his John Hughes era. Like my friend's
I don't
mom,
can't even imagine what he looks like. Actually, like
he
white guy.
plays Brian Johnson, the nerd.
Wow, you know their names, Jesus.
Dude,
You're
yeah.
really Gen X.
I just for some reason remember his. John Bender was Judd Nelson.
My God.
Claire is Molly Ringwald, and then I forget who Emilio Estevez, what the athlete.
Molly Ringwald was my neighbor growing up. Oh, Dexter, Michael C. Hall. Yeah, I could see that.
No, Michael Anthony Hall.
Oh, then I don't know what you're talking about.
Anyway, I don't think Kamala Harris is represented. I think that the John Hughes universe is frankly a little bit racist. Like not even like racially insensitive, but if you watch 16 Candles and see
No, it's straight up racist.
like Long Duck Dong, are you kidding me? And like like generationally, you grew up watching that movie and being like, ha ha ha, like it was kind of a joke. But then
Oh
you're like,
yeah,
you look back and you're like, oh God.
yeah. It's
So
crazy, right? Like looking back, how fucking insanely inappropriate shit can be. Like,
what's the Audrey Hepburn movie, Breakfast at
oh my
Tiffany's,
god,
with Andy Rooney? Is it Andy Rooney or
Mickey Rooney?
Mickey Rooney? Yeah, Andy
Yeah.
Rooney's the guy on 60 Minutes.
Yeah, Mickey Rooney do it because like Breakfast at Tiffany's was like, I guess I was a weird kid. I don't know, but like growing up, like as like a little kid, like kindergarten through second grade, it was Breakfast at Tiffany's and Some Like It Hot. They were like, I would watch them over and over and over and over again, and like my mom had to kind of like explain to me in like a little kid way, like what Mickey Rooney is doing there is like not actually funny. It's pretty racist and incorrect, and like maybe don't do like impressions of it or like don't like laugh at it too much.
Yeah.
Like it was I shouldn't even begin to explain the whole like Holly Golightly's a prostitute thing to me, but it was definitely confusing to figure out when I was little.
Right. Yeah, I feel like despite that, I mean, that part of it aside, Audrey Hepburn is so charming and
I
so beautiful and so stylish. Like even
I mean,
I
she's
am like
wild.
entranced. She's the best.
I would like when I was younger, I would watch any movie that she was in. And even if the movie was boring, it was like, well, she's got these outfits on and she like looks this way and she's acting this and she's just like so compelling. Like in a way that like I think a lot of people felt about and I feel too about Marilyn Monroe. Like Audrey Hepburn, like I cannot stop looking at her. Like
And I think she was really a good person, like
she
really
was.
like a good, warm, kind soul. And I
She
think,
did so much charity work when she was older. She's like a Dolly Parton style, like just like really a good person.
yeah. And just
Like
like,
escaped wars when she was younger. Like had like was like a I think a refugee or something from like I don't know what war, but like she was like had like a really rough childhood and like then she did ballet and she was like noticed for doing that and got a career out of it.
she, she's beautiful. And like Roman Holiday, I think that's the one. That's probably her best known movie. That's a great movie.
Yeah, or she's also Charade. Charade's a really good one.
What is that one? I think I've seen
It's
that one. Is
um
that with Gary? Is that with
yeah,
not Gary Cooper, but
no,
the guy who did all the acid? He's
motherfuck, what is that guy's name? Oh, I'm gonna have to look this up. It's gonna make me insane. Charade. There's probably people listening and they're like, I know who it is.
Yeah, as soon as you say it, I'm gonna know.
Cary Grant.
Cary Grant, right? That's the one where they're in the ski town or whatever. They're on the mountain.
Yeah, and there's like it's a crime thriller
in
thing.
Paris. Yeah. I've seen that one too.
And
yeah.
Stamps. Spoiler alert.
All right. Well, so Matthew, Kamala Harris is not represented in the John Hughes universe. Would be my answer. I just don't see a core.
Back to us with other movies, Brad can analyze and decide which one is Kamala Harris. I'm sure there's going to be a Kamala Harris somewhere.
I mean, but maybe. Yeah, I'm sure there's something, but definitely not in the John Hughes cinematic universe. And if you are out there and you want to write to us and ask us questions or give us feedback, you can email the show, letters@otherppl.com. So where are we in the world of the culture, Mira? Like, what's going on out there?
Well, let's see. Where are we in the world of culture, Brad? Well, besides the Hawk Tuah girl, who, is very important, we're going to talk about some other people. I hope that's okay with you.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about Justin Timberlake's driving under the influence arrest. So Justin Timberlake in the Hamptons was recently arrested for driving under the influence. We don't know what he was on. We don't know.
I think he was drunk, right?
Yeah, we haven't heard. We don't know. He hasn't been tested or anything like we don't know exactly what the drugs were, and the cops are like, we don't know either because he wouldn't use a breathalyzer.
But was he on drugs?
Yes, I mean he was He was visibly on drugs enough to be arrested, even though he didn't do a breathalyzer.
Well, no, but on drugs is different than he was drunk. I think he was out drinking, and was he also doing cocaine or something, or no?
Well, so I think he might have been. He certainly looked like he was, but I don't think that they were able to test him for any drugs or anything because I don't think that they're pressing charges.
He's going to get out of it.
Yeah, I think he's going to get out of it. But so basically, the cops pulled him over. They were like, you smell like alcohol. Your eyes are red. You look high as hell. This is not I think the fact that he smelled like alcohol, they were like, we're not going to let you keep driving. So his friends who he was staying with said to the cops, first of all, they said, are you really going to arrest Justin Timberlake? And the cop was like, what the fuck? I don't know who this person is because he was too young to know who Justin Timberlake is. And then the lady was who Justin Timberlake was with, he was staying at their house. It was a couple. And she was like, okay, well, can I drive his rental car back to the house? And so that the car is at the house, and we can go pick him up at the, jail or whatever. And the cop was like, sure. Even though this woman was clearly also drinking and would also smelled like alcohol and had also just been in the exact same place that Justin Timberlake was in.
So wait, but here, let me stop you. So this woman was with Justin Timberlake when he got pulled over?
So she was driving behind him. They were in a caravan going to her house to stay over for the night. It was her and her husband's house, I guess.
And she was visibly wasted?
She smelled like alcohol, just like Justin Timberlake did. And they had been at the same place, so presumably were ingesting the same drugs.
But who said she smelled like alcohol? The cop?
Yeah.
And he let her just drive?
Yeah.
Without testing her?
Without a breathalyzer, without a test, nothing.
Well,
and so I guess Justin's lawyer is trying to, I guess they are pressing charges because he's trying to get the case dismissed. And they're trying to argue that the two young cops were off in their judgment because they let somebody who had clearly been drinking drive in his car, even though they had just pulled him over for drinking.
So what's going to happen, if you will recall our conversation from last week, is that this is going to go to court and Jessica Biel is going to be sitting there as the loving wife. And the judge is going to dismiss the case, much like Alec Baldwin's case was dismissed. Justin and Jessica will break down sobbing, and I, watching
break down sobbing.
The viral video on social media, will experience empathy tears, and I will sob as I celebrate their exoneration.
They're anti-vaxxers. Will that make you sob less?
Are they?
Mm-hmm.
I don't honestly, I feel like Jessica Biel seems, I don't know, she seems like there's no problem with her. I've never heard of.
Nice enough, I guess, but they're still anti-vaxxers.
He's kind of strange.
No, he's not nice. He's a fucking asshole.
He's got he's got an ego on him. That's what I feel like. He's sort of arrogant or something.
I mean, imagine a cop pulled him over and he was like, this is going to ruin the tour. And the cop goes, what tour? And he goes, the world tour.
Yeah, you're living in your own little.
Like, what tour? You Oh, the world tour. Oh, duh! I didn't even think of that. Like, what?
Yeah,
He
I
doesn't
don't.
know who you are.
Yeah. What is it with these celebrities? I remember Reese Witherspoon did this. They get tanked, like their inhibitions are down. They get scared because they're pulled over for a DUI, and they immediately play that card, like "Don't you know who I am?" sort of thing.
I can kind of understand it. Like, if I were like a celebrity and like I knew that like a cop would probably not give me a ticket if I like busted that out and maybe took a picture with him or something, like I would do that.
Yeah, but they
I don't
got
know about
they
busting it
they
out angrily.
yeah,
That like doesn't really make sense. I feel like that would just make the cop more mad and like he doesn't have to treat you differently.
but
But
the thing is, the cop should instigate it. The cop should be like, "Oh my god," like Reese Witherspoon. It shouldn't be like you being like, "Hey, by the way, don't you know who I am?" Like,
it happens to celebrities a lot though, where a cop will pull them over and they'll be like, "By the way, did you know I'm blank?" And they'll be like, "Oh, like my daughter loves you. Like I'm not going to give you a ticket." Like you see pictures of celebrities with cops, like, "Oh, taking a picture." Like that's what's happening.
Like if I'm a celebrity and I get pulled over for speeding, and then the cop takes my license and it's like, "Oh my god, I love your
Yeah.
I love your podcast." You
Love your
know,
podcast.
can I get a selfie? I would be like, "Yeah, sure, I'll get out of this ticket." Like I don't begrudge somebody for getting out of a ticket
Right.
because they're a celebrity. What I begrudge is them acting entitled and like laying that on a cop in an effort to like somehow
I
like
mean, it's like something where like you can tell it's clearly worked in like stores before, like some like they're at like the Chanel store or whatever, and like I'm Justin Timberlake, and then everyone's nice to them. But like that's a cop. It's not the same.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I feel like people who are famous, like it's really hard to stay sane because you're in this world where everyone's kissing your ass and telling you yes. And that's just what even good people, you become accustomed to that and it sneaks up on you. And then suddenly you're
Yeah.
just out of touch. It's weird.
I think as a famous person, like one of the most important things that you can have are like people around you who are willing to say no. Like people around you who are willing to say, like, that's stupid, don't do that. That's a bad idea. Like I feel like so many celebrities don't have somebody who's like willing to say no. They only have people who are like, yes, that's great. We love that. We love you. And then they end up doing dumb shit and not having any perspective about it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you need somebody there who's like not afraid of you.
That's right. And people who like actually care about you enough to tell you when you're being a dipshit.
Yeah, exactly. You need like a good parent, but like or a friend or whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, what else is going on?
Well, let's see. Ooh, this story has been really fun for me. Have you heard about this, Brad? The ballerina farms.
No, I have no idea what that even is.
So, okay, this is like a long story. So let's see. So this woman, Hannah Nealman, is the wife of a billionaire. He is the heir to, I want to say, JetBlue Airlines. He, I believe, like runs JetBlue Airlines. His dad founded it. And he married this woman, Hannah Nealman, who, when he met her, she knew him via his dad, some kind of like event thing. She went to Juilliard. Right. This is in college. And he, I think, like went to like a neighboring school or something like that. And she met him at an event that his dad had thrown. And so they knew each other. And so he, I guess, liked her. He was into her. And so he did this weird fucking thing where let me make sure I'm getting this right. He found out that she was flying somewhere and he booked a ticket next to her on the flight. Yeah, okay. So her husband is named Daniel.
Wait, and is Daniel the heir to the JetBlue fortune or whatever?
Exactly. So his dad founded JetBlue. He's the heir to the JetBlue fortune. And so he learned that Hannah, his now wife, would be getting a flight from New York City, where she went to Juilliard, where they both lived, to their hometown of Salt Lake City, where they both grew up. She grew up a devout Mormon. I believe he was Mormon-ish, right? So he had like kind of expressed romantic interest in her. She said, okay, well, I'm very Mormon and I want to take a year until before I get married to date around and to finish school, right? She was a ballerina at Juilliard. And so on their way to Salt Lake City from New York, he booked a seat assigned next to her on this flight because he could see via being the heir to JetBlue Airlines that she had a ticket. And he hit on her for the whole flight, was like, I want to marry you, I want to date you. And basically after that moment, they were together forever. He impregnated her during her last year at Juilliard, making her the only person who's ever gotten pregnant during their time at Juilliard.
Is that a distinction? You get like a ribbon for that or something? Let's see.
I mean, she should get a ribbon. It's
Good God, look at this. I'm looking at these pictures. How many kids do they have?
Dude, they have so many fucking. So he was also raised a Mormon. She was raised a Mormon. He's one of 9 children himself. And they have 12.
They have 12 kids?
Yeah. And so
she's like a trad wife, right? This is what this is called?
Yeah. So trad wife, it's like traditional wife. And so basically they got married. They got a farm that they live on, right? Her dream was to have like a little farm with like a couple of chickens and some vegetables or whatever, and then convert the barn into a dance studio for herself. Then we get to now, many years later, she has 12 children who she has given birth to naturally for all of them at home. And this article this article that made her go viral, begins talking about how she had 2 due dates for her baby, her most recent baby. One was giving birth to the baby, and one was 2 weeks later competing in a Miss America pageant, which she did.
After giving birth.
Gave birth, 12 days later, competed in a Miss America pageant. Okay. She later tells a story in here about how, so she says she's given birth, I think it was like on her 10th baby or something like that. Her husband has told her, you're not allowed to use any pain drugs during your births, ever. And the one time that she did get pain drugs was when he was out of town for her birth. And she described the birth as being like a break. She was like, wow, it was so nice to like have those pain meds during that birth while my husband was out of town for this short amount of time. So like, this is the life this poor woman is leading. Like, she chose it, and she's married to a billionaire. And she is giving birth in a fucking barn with no pain medication to 12 children. Like, and giving up her career as a ballerina, competing in a Miss America pageant 12 days after she's given birth to a baby. And like, I think what made it really like get intensely viral was, I mean, everything that I just said, but also there's this TikTok of her on her birthday. She had said, I want to go to Greece. You're the heir to JetBlue Airlines. It can't be that hard to go to Greece. He's a literal billionaire. You know what he gets her? He gets her a fucking apron that looks like the Greek flag that has little pockets in it for eggs. So that when she goes out to the chickens to get the eggs, she has a little apron to put it in. This is what he got her instead of a trip to Greece, when she asked for a trip to Greece.
Hannah Nealman is her name.
Hannah Nealman is her name.
And I got to say, too, It looks like they have 8 kids. I'm counting 8.
8, not 12. Right. That makes sense.
What's the difference after a certain point?
Yeah. And she's like giving birth to all of them at home. Husband won't let her have any drugs. Additionally, her husband won't let her have any help. No nannies, no maids, no one to help her with like harvesting the eggs and milk that she sells from her ballerina farm, which is what her farm is called.
What is he doing? What is he doing? Is he like just sitting on his head? He runs JetBlue.
I believe so. Like, he's got some high level job at JetBlue. And he just makes a bunch of money, and then his wife does all of this shit. This like came into people started talking about it because there was this article in the Times that was like a profile of her and her husband and how fucking insane and weird they are. I guess like, so like I'm reading this, and like they started dating within 3 months, or they got married rather within 3 months of their first date. They met at a college basketball game. They had a date a couple months later.
Wait, I thought they met on a plane.
They met at a college basketball game, and then she was flying back to Salt Lake City from New York, and he pulled some strings to get assigned in the seat next to her on the plane, where he then hit on her, and they then got married 3 months later.
God, why do you think they got married so fast? Is it because they were like virgins and they were just desperate to have sex, or?
I think that's probably part of it. And just like being Mormon, like you like as Mormons, you can't like be with somebody in a serious way unless like you're gonna get married right away. And like she was like probably 20 something at that point. She's 34 now and has had 8 children.
My
So I
God.
assume she was probably 20 something when that happened, which is like how old you're supposed to be when you get married as a Mormon. So like they were probably like TikTok, like time to get married, like you gotta do it now. And he's a billionaire, so she was probably encouraged, like whatever. And
She's a billionaire trad wife.
she's a wife of a billionaire. I mean, Jesus, if I were her, I'd be fucking out of there taking half those $1 billion and just making my own little dance studio and having a nice fucking life. Like, yeah. So like the profile says that she had dreams to turn the small barn on their land into a dance studio. But instead, the barn became a classroom for their children, where she teaches them. She does homeschooling for them, all of the childcare, all of the care of the fucking barn. In this profile, it says that her husband handles the laundry.
What is she miserable or she's happy doing this?
She claims to be happy. But in this article, she also says that sometimes she gets so ill from exhaustion that she can't get out of bed for a week, which does not sound like a happy person to me.
Jesus Christ. She's gorgeous. I mean, these
She's
people.
gorgeous.
Yeah. Gorgeous ballerina with 8 kids at age 34. I mean, and she can't, and he won't let her have what?
Any help.
And no painkillers when she gives birth.
And yeah, she gives birth no painkiller. She said that she did once skip painkillers during a birth because her husband was out of town. And she was like, that feels so good. I was so happy about it. As if giving birth is like a break from your regular life.
Yeah.
Not like the worst thing you've ever experienced.
I feel like this trad wife thing is sort of like a TikTok sensation, right? Like this is sort of like a trending cultural thing.
It's like a TikTok thing, but it's also like it's like a Republican thing. It's like a right-wing conservative thing where like they want women to be traditional wives who are like in the kitchen and they're like, gathering eggs and taking care of your kids. And they're also supermodels and they're also Miss America, but they can't really do anything besides that, like it just weird shit. It's like, and she claims that she likes it, but I don't know.
I don't know. And you got 8 kids with this guy. I mean, you sort of have to like it, right? I mean, I don't know. I guess
at least maybe you like it. I mean, Mormons don't really believe in divorce, so it's like I have to imagine there's some serious pressure there in terms of like not getting divorced. Like she needs to make it work in her mind.
maybe they're happy. I don't fucking know. I think the whole thing sounds crazy, but
I mean, it feels to me like I'm willing to believe that like people are into weird shit and like they're happy and that's fine. But I don't think a happy person can't get out of bed for a week because they're so ill from exhaustion, like ever. Except for like really crazy circumstances. Like that's just not normal.
yeah, I'm raising 8 kids, homeschooling them. I'm doing farm work. I'm like milking cows and shit.
I gave up my fucking dreams of being a ballerina, like that were like actually gonna happen. She went to Juilliard. She was gonna be a ballerina, and she was just like, nope, I'm gonna give that up and have 8 kids and live in a fucking barn. Like, what the fuck?
I mean, look, if she was going to be a ballerina, she had her 20s to do it. You're sort of peaked. You're out of that game by the time you're 30 anyway.
Now. She could have had an incredible career, and
instead she had 8 kids.
Instead, she had 8 kids and this horrible husband who, like, just like descended upon her. Was like, oh, I met you at a college basketball game. Now I'm gonna like figure out where you're flying and like book a seat next to yours. Like that's so creepy.
I was gonna say, is that a romantic gesture?
No, it's weird. I'd be like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah.
Unless the plan is to like marry a billionaire and then get divorced just so you can have some money, then okay, I get it. But like, that's not what she's doing.
Yeah. Every time I fly, like if I'm flying alone, I think it's like very human where you're like, I hope I get somebody good, like who sits next to me, like some young, beautiful woman, like sits next to me. And it's just like,
that's such a dude thought. I'm just like, I want someone next to me who is quiet.
Well, right. Me too. Me too, kind of. But I think maybe it is a dude thing. But like, I always get like some guy in a tank top who smells like Fritos. He's got like hairy shoulders. And he's
like that's the exact guy who's like, wow, I hope I sit next to like a young, pretty girl on this flight.
He sits next to me.
He's like, damn it.
I never ever get anybody good. It's always like some person who's like rude and like their elbows are in my lap.
I mean, I was once sitting next to a kid on a flight and I was like, oh, great. I'm like sitting next to a kid. I like kids, whatever. And then this guy comes up and he's like, hey kid, like I'll give you $50 if you switch seats with me so I can sit next to the lady. And I was like, oh motherfucker, like Jesus Christ. And like I just told him I'm too high to talk, and then I put on my headphones and fell asleep.
You know what? I say this. I'm now remembering I had a flight. I guess I was flying back from New York, is what I want to say. It was like New York to LA. I had been out there for something. And I'm sitting next to this woman, and the plane hit some turbulence, and all of a sudden she's holding my hand. And she was genuinely like a nervous, terrified flyer. And she was this like gorgeous African-American woman with like this awesome hair. And she was just so nervous. She just grabbed my hand. I mean, like I'm just like, whoa. And like, what do you do? Like, I'm not going to pull my hand away. And I was like, oh, yeah. I was like, it's going to be okay. And it turns out she was an actress who had been in some Spike Lee movies. I didn't know. I mean, it was like small parts, like, I don't think she was like a star or anything, but.
Have I ever told you when, no, not Spike Lee, Spike Jonze. Spike Lee did Where the Wild Things Are. Is that right?
Spike Jonze did Where the Wild Things Are.
So Spike Lee, did I ever tell you about how he came to our Thanksgiving one time?
Spike Lee, like, Do the Right Thing?
Yeah.
Came to your Thanksgiving dinner?
It was the weird, like, it still feels like a dream, but if you ask my family, like, it is 100% true, this story.
Where, at your house in Venice?
Yeah, my grandpa's house in Venice. So, like, I grew up in Venice. My grandpa has a house, like, literally on the boardwalk, like, right on the beach. And it's got, like, a big balcony thing over it. So, like, it's very visible from the boardwalk. And, like, people are walking by or whatever. And, like, on Thanksgiving, there's this guy who lives next to my grandpa named Kermit, who is this, like, young black dude. He has, like, these big parties all the time with, like, these beautiful girls and all kinds of people there or whatever. And my grandpa's friendly with them. They, like, he'll like come by or whatever when there's a party at my grandpa's house and say hi to us. Nice guy. And so Thanksgiving was happening. For some reason, Kermit was having a giant party rager on Thanksgiving. I don't know why or how. And we're having Thanksgiving. There's like we're on like the balcony kind of over it's not exactly a balcony. It's more of like a yard. It's pretty big, but it overhangs the boardwalk. So everyone can kind of see you from the boardwalk. And we're like talking to Kermit or whatever. The houses are very close to each other. So there's kind of like a gate that you can open that like just almost leads directly to the house. So it's like, if you wouldn't know any better, you could almost like wander into my grandpa's house and think that it was part of like the party. And then you'd realize immediately that it wasn't. Somehow from this party, Spike Lee, I swear to fucking God, wanders in through the door.
How old are you?
This was like, I was probably like 22.
Oh, okay. So you're an adult.
Yeah, no, I was a full adult. Like, I was like a whole grown up. He comes in, doesn't say anything to anybody. We're all like looking like, what the fuck is he doing? Like, you guys see? Like, look, there he is. He's right there. Like, what the hell? We're all kind of just like watching. He makes himself a plate of Thanksgiving food. There's like all the food is laid out, the turkey or whatever. He just comes up, makes himself a little plate. My grandma's like, doesn't know who he is. And it's like, oh, like, can I get like, do you want some mashed potatoes? Here you go. Like serving him on a fucking plate. He takes his little plate, he eats for a minute, he looks around, he just walks away.
Wow.
Like, everyone in my family witnessed it. We don't know why, how it happened. He just took a plate, left. We assume he was at Kermit's. We don't know.
That's like Bill Murray shit right there, where Bill Murray just like will walk into somebody's like wedding and, give
That's what it felt like. We were all looking and we're like, are we hallucinating? Like, are you guys seeing this shit? Like, is this real? Like, did Grammy just serve him food? Like, what the fuck?
All right. I've never heard that story.
It was wild. I've told it to some people and they're like, is that really true? And I'm like, you can ask my grandpa. I swear to God, we all saw it.
Well, I'm going to have to Google this Utah trad wife. What's her name again? Hannah Nealman?
Hannah Nealman.
Yeah. I'm going to have to start following her on social media. Got a good
TikTok.
Yeah. I want to get into this. Like, I find this sort of thing, like, this is the sort of thing, because it's a little culty. Anything that has even a whisper of culty to it, I'm in.
Mm-hmm. It's like very culty.
Yeah. I want to find out more. So what else is happening? I would be if a billionaire Mormon wants to, whisk me away to his ranch.
You collect eggs, take care of the kids. I think it could really work for you. Get a little egg apron.
I could have some border collies. God, that's my whole fantasy. My whole life dream is just to be able to live on land with border collies and like have them herd sheep.
I mean, those would be some really fucking happy dogs. Imagine taking Twiggy to a farm, just letting her fucking go nuts.
Yeah, but border collies, those black and white sheepdogs. I used to have,
Mm-hmm.
my first dog was that, and I'm like, I just want to have more, but they're so high octane that it's a lot to have one.
Oh, they've got to like run a lot and just
Yeah,
like be out a lot. Yeah, you can't
yeah.
really do that in LA, can you?
I mean, you could make it work. I see them around, but it's a lot. You have to make a real effort.
Yeah. And I feel like it's like if you're not like really exercising with them, they're not going to be happy.
They'll tear your house up is what they'll do.
Yeah. Yeah.
They'll fuck shit up. So what else is happening?
Let's see. So it's a weird one. Madison Square Garden, the
Oh,
venue, gives Billy Joel a custom Triumph motorcycle as a gift for his final show.
yeah, I flagged this one, and here's why. Like, it's not a big story, but like, Billy Joel is old, and I want to
He's
say
old.
he's had like multiple accidents on motorcycles.
It's
Like,
like giving Harrison Ford a plane.
yeah, let's give Joe Biden a Triumph motorcycle on his last day in the White House. Like, what the fuck are you doing? This guy's elderly. Don't give him a motorcycle.
What is a Triumph motorcycle? It's like a brand?
Yeah, it's like a nice, like cool. I don't know enough about it, but yeah, it's a brand of motorcycle. And
Is it his final show? Oh, it's he has a residency. I see. It's his final show on the residency. He's not like quitting
yeah,
entirely.
no, I read about like there was a New Yorker profile of Billy Joel in his like later years when it was years ago when he was just doing this residency thing. And it was all about how it worked. Like they kind of followed him around, but he plays there like I want to say 1 to 3 nights a month or something. And it was just like
Yeah.
it was like a standing date for Billy Joel at Madison Square Garden. And it was really the only concerts that he played. So people would come to him instead of him going out on
Oh,
tour, which is a sweet deal for an older musician, you know?
it's like a
But
Vegas residency, but in Madison Square Garden.
yeah. And so he lives out on Long Island. You know, he's out there. That's where he's from. And that's where he has this big mansion or whatever. And they were kind of doing like a day in the life of Billy Joel with respect to one of these concerts, and like a chopper would fly to his property, land in his like waterfront backyard, pick him up, fly him to Midtown or wherever, yeah, MSG's in
So,
Midtown, I think, and drop
yeah.
him off on like the roof of a building. And then he takes an elevator down and like goes in through the tunnels into Madison Square Garden. And then after the
That's
show,
wild.
yeah, after the show, while people are like just filing out of their seats, he's up the elevator to this building, gets on the chopper, and he's home in like 10 minutes.
His fucking residencies must make a lot of money if they can afford that.
Dude, he's
Like
so
for
rich.
them to both make money off of that, like, and he's has a helicopter and shit. Like that's like
That-
people must really show up to that shit.
That's all sold out. It's all
That's
sold out.
insane.
Yeah, people love Billy Joel. I feel like there's been sort of a like a Joel-essence, renaissance of like affection for him. He
I
was like,
think it's
I saw him.
Olivia
I saw
Rodrigo.
him in concert in the 1980s.
Wow, you're old.
Yeah, when he was like when Uptown Girl was
Wow.
like on MTV, and Christy Brinkley. I want to say he was divorced by then, or about to be.
Who is he married to?
Christy Brinkley, the
Oh
supermodel.
wow. Yeah.
That's
Wow.
that's who Uptown Girl is all about. They had this like marriage, and it was like a big like celebrity coupling of the 1980s. The thing about him, I will say, is that he is truly gifted. Like if you've ever heard him play the piano, like he
He is
did,
gifted.
just to bring this full circle, he did Alec Baldwin's. Remember Alec Baldwin had a
Your
podcast?
favorite.
Yeah,
He had a podcast?
yeah. It was called like, or it was a radio show like WNYC or whatever the fuck it
Oh
was.
my
But
god. That was a
go
good Alec Baldwin impression.
and yeah, and then or it was like Billy Joel was on Howard Stern. Like he'll do Stern, and he'll be in there with the piano,
Wow.
and he'll sort of like deconstruct his music, and he'll talk about musical influences, and like he's incredible. Like he's like a prodigy. Like the guy when he was a child could play, like at a degree of difficulty that exceeds most humans. And he's just really talented. So
Yeah, I'm not even like a huge fan of his music, but he's like clearly incredibly talented and skilled. Like you can just, it's obvious. Like it's
yeah,
hard to deny.
yeah,
I
and
wonder if the Billy Joel Renaissance has anything to do with Olivia Rodrigo singing about him in Driver's License.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing. Like he's sort of influential, and like I think if you stick around long enough, it eventually comes back around, and people start to sort of pay you homage. But I don't know.
That
He's all
song was wild. Her being like, Billy Joel was our thing. Like, remember, like, I introduced you to Billy Joel. It's like, to me, I'm like, who doesn't know who Billy Joel is? It's like being like, I introduced you to Bruce Springsteen. Like, it.
Yeah, I had every Billy Joel when I was a kid, like junior high. I was like, so this is very common for guys my age, like especially white guys my age from like suburban milieu in the Midwest. Like Billy Joel was like subversive and like cool when I was like in sixth grade. I had like, it was like, and I had it all on cassette tape. So I was like, do you have Glass Houses? And like 50
Like, what
seconds,
year is this?
like 86, 87. But then, I should also say like the band that really blew my mind, this is going to
Fish.
sound cooler. No, this is going to sound way cooler, was, and that was like hugely formative for me, was Guns N' Roses.
That's not that cool.
But it's better than Billy Joel.
I feel like it's about the same.
Speaking of which, I want to say Axl Rose came out on stage and sang 2 songs with Billy Joel on this last show at MSG.
They're like, we're old as fuck.
Yeah.
We're so old.
They are. But yeah, like I remember like, I mean, Billy Joel is like, there's not a Billy Joel song, especially since he like stopped making music like, 40 years ago. But like, there's not a Billy Joel song that I don't know.
I could name, I think, one Billy Joel song, and that's Uptown Girl. I'm trying to think of other ones.
It's still rock and roll to me.
I mean, I guess I know that song. What's like his most famous song besides Uptown Girl?
She's always a woman to me, or Piano Man. I mean, there's a
Piano
million.
Man. Yeah, okay, I know that.
Yeah, a lot of these songs are like, I guess you would call them canonical pop songs. Like they're going to be around, but I just don't think I think the man should not be on a Triumph motorcycle.
No,
I'm worried about
no,
it.
he should not be. I really don't think that anybody his age should be gifted a motorcycle. And in fact, I don't think that anyone should be on motorcycles at all. I actually really hate motorcycles. I think that they're dangerous and bad and shouldn't be legal.
I think they're fun, but I would never have one because why would you ride a motorized vehicle where like the margin for error is essentially zero?
You know what doctors call motorcycles? Donor mobiles.
Yeah.
Because young people die from head injuries and their organs are totally fine.
Yeah. I mean, like you're fucked if you wipe out on a motorcycle at speed and like, God forbid you hit something or get hit, it's just.
It's so bad. And the fact that in California, like it's not against the law to like weave between lanes in a motorcycle, it's like, what the fuck is that? Like
I've
you can just
almost
go
hit,
in between lanes? Like I've almost hit them so many times.
Yeah. So like what Mira's talking about is like if you're on a very packed like Southern California freeway, it's like a 6-lane highway and it's like bumper to bumper and you're going like 40 or 50 miles an hour, but you're in heavy traffic. All of a sudden, a motorcycle can come screaming in between lanes, like in that little space between cars at like
on the line.
Yeah, on the line at like 75 miles an hour. So if you're drifting or you're about to switch lanes and you don't use your blinker or you're not looking, you could easily clip one of these people. Easily.
And it's not illegal. They can just do that. It's like not even illegal for them to go in between lanes. Like
I feel a little jealous, I got to be honest, when that's happening, where they're just like zipping right through and you're stuck in some hellish like traffic. But I'm too chicken to ride a motorcycle. I rode one as a kid and I ran into a tree, like a pine tree, and hit my head. Like the tree broke. It was a little pine tree.
Wow.
I remember that. And the motorcycle was like a homemade, this was in my weird Midwestern phase, and like it was like a homemade motorbike.
Or whatever, like
it didn't have handbrakes. You had to like sort of just lay off the gas and use your feet to slow it down. It was fucking crazy.
Jesus. And we had like a Vespa once when I was younger in like high school. We somehow got our hands on it. And my friend got on it and within 5 minutes crashed through the fence of like this nice Korean family's birthday party. Just directly through it. And he was like, fuck, I'm sorry. Like it was like one of the funniest things I've ever seen. But
was he injured?
No, he was fine.
Oh, okay.
Everyone was fine.
All right. Well, Billy Joel needs to be careful. What else do we have going on?
Well, there's another one that you added.
What did I? Oh, yeah.
Gray says that Ozempic made her really constipated.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by Ozempic, and I'm a little bitter about it, to be honest.
Bitter, like you want it?
No, just that it's like a shortcut, and like I'm one of these people who like has worked out every day of my life and like watches what I eat, and all these people are like, I'm just going to take this like $500 pill every month or whatever it is. It's expensive.
Pill?
Or what? No, you shoot it. It's like an injection.
I mean, my feeling about it is that medicine exists to make us healthier and to help us, and so some people struggle to lose weight. And despite having a healthy lifestyle, I think it's like very reasonable.
If you're really seriously in a bad
Yeah.
way and you can't. But a lot of people, I think, just don't want to do any work. It's just a quick
Yeah.
fix.
I mean, I think like with celebrities, it's not that they're not doing work, 'cause they're clearly like got nutritionists and fucking, you know, personal trainers and shit like that. They just like want to be able to lose that extra 10 pounds that they can't, you know, naturally lose.
But it makes you constipated. Like, what are the side effects of this shit? Do we know? Like, it
I
does.
I mean, it's been around for a while, but it was only used on diabetics, not on regular people. Like
Did
with
we talk
Ozempic.
about this already? I can't even remember if we've talked about Ozempic. I feel like certain things are going to recur.
Yeah, because I feel like we also have conversations outside the show, and I'm like, I don't know which ones
Yeah.
are in the show or not.
I mean, look, if there's a legitimate medical reason and it's helping you, God bless you. But
Yeah.
you know,
I mean, I've heard a lot of like I heard like who is the director? Paul, not Paul Verhoeven, but the other Paul, who I love and whose name is escaping my mind right now. Maybe that's the weed, but
what did he direct? Do you know?
he wrote Taxi Driver, he directed First Reformed,
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking
motherfucker, Tyler, who's the name? Oh, he's not there. Never mind.
about. I'll look it up. I'll look it up while you talk.
But he took Ozempic and he said that he did it and made him so sick that he was like throwing up and almost went to the hospital and just had to pretty much immediately Paul Schrader.
Yeah, there you go. Taxi Driver. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I basically had to just immediately stop taking it because it made him so sick. I don't know, like what I guess it makes you nauseated also.
Yeah. Like, what's the? I mean, like, you know, you got to really want to drop the pounds, but that shit works. You got to say, like that. I mean,
It works.
people take Ozempic, like they get skinny. It's like inarguable.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I think a lot of it is like it makes you eat so much less. Like you're just like your brain doesn't have the same, like they say it like can help with even addiction too, because it's like the same center of your brain that will fire like the hunger desire. Like it like calms that down a little bit, which can help with like smokers and stuff. I was reading recently.
What is Macy?
But
Macy Gray just says it made her constipated.
yeah, I guess so. I mean, my favorite Macy Gray story this week, which it seems like you've missed, is that she said that Macy Gray says that she achieves healing with cocaine, a couple shots, edibles, and pizza. Same.
Yeah. See, she's not working out with a trainer. She's
No, I respect it.
She's 56. Oh boy, she says, my stomach hurts. I've just been really constipated. I took Ozempic. I can't go to the bathroom and I was up all night. Sounds like hell.
Yeah, that sounds really bad. She was up all night with constipation?
Real Housewives of Atlanta alum Zolciak. Do you know this?
Kim Zolciak? Of course I do. Target of the party.
Kim Zolciak pointed out, quote, Ozempic does that. I guess she was talking to Macy Gray.
Why was Kim Zolciak talking to Macy Gray? That's so strange.
Gray, whose real name is Natalie McIntyre, then explained that she had turned to the trendy medication to, quote, lose weight really fast before going on tour. See, this is why people do it. Quietly, I'm a vain person. I've gained a lot of weight. This is the right time when everybody starts talking about Ozempic, but then it's not for everybody. You can fuck your system up.
I mean, I think also it just like takes, like you have to do a lot of other things with it to be healthy. I imagine probably also including, now that Macy Gray says this, like drinking fiber and stuff, maybe. Like that seems like if this is a common thing, probably that's what other people are doing.
Yeah, I think.
Or fucking laxatives or something. I don't know.
Here's what I think. I mean, this is going to get a little gross, but I think it's just real life stuff.
Oh, go. Oh, here we go.
This is not even in you're not even aware of this yet because you're so young. When you get older, if you are not exercising regularly and hydrating properly and eating well, you know, eating real food, like whole, not like processed food. If you have to eat well, exercise like vigorously multiple days a week and drink a ton of water. If you don't do those things, you're not pooping normally. And you might Jewish? Not even, no, but I feel like I have an affinity. Why? Is that something a Jewish person would say?
Yeah, like stomach problems. Like, oh, you've got to do this and that. Otherwise you're going to be constipated and you're going to get diarrhea. And then you're going to have, you know, fucking irritable bowel syndrome. Like that's like classic.
Yeah. Then I'm Jewish. But I mean, it's just common sense. It's just common sense. I hear people say this, like, and they're like, oh, you know, my stomach, I can't poop. And it's like, well, yeah, you're fucking sitting on your ass all day. You're not moving. You can't get, the pipes are not going to work if you don't move your body.
I mean, look, I'm not that young anymore. I'm 32,
Oh my
which is
God.
pretty young. But like, my body's probably failing a little bit at this point. It's starting to fail a little bit.
It won't
And like,
happen. It won't happen con gusto until you're like in your mid 40s. That's like the tipping point, I think. It's like,
that's good.
yeah.
I mean, I've already like I exercise 30 minutes to an hour a day, probably 5 or 6 days a week on my elliptical or whatever the fuck. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it so much. Everyone's like, "Oh, you're gonna like it eventually. You'll learn to like exercise. It'll feel good." No, it never feels good. It feels like shit all the time. I get that I have to do it to be healthy, which is why I do it because I don't have a choice. But it fucking sucks, and everyone has been lying this whole time.
I've been doing it my whole life, so I don't know any different. I have nothing to compare it to. I've like always been an athlete and
I've
like
been
not a,
lifting my whole life, and I love it.
yeah, I'm not a good athlete either. I mean, I'm not some sort of like sports god, but I just going to high school, I always played team sports. And then in college, I even worked out and lived in Boulder. So it was like, everybody was outside doing stuff. Like
You should join one of those gay kickball teams they have in West Hollywood, Boys Town.
they would love me. I'd play.
They would.
Yeah.
They would hit on you and you would like be flattered and then they would be like, "You're not achievable. That sucks." Like,
Yeah. Well, funny story. When I first moved to LA, I lived in West Hollywood, in like the heart of Boys Town, and had no
yeah.
idea. I didn't know LA, so I didn't know where I was living. I just thought like, oh, this street looks nice, and like these people take care of their lawn, or
Like you didn't know it was Boys Town. You didn't. For those listening who don't know, West Hollywood has seceded from the city of Los Angeles because it's so gay. They have their own mayor. They're like it is a gay neighborhood for gay people.
Yeah.
It's all gay bars. It's mostly businesses owned by gay people. That's like the whole thing.
Yeah. So I lived on Havenhurst. That was my first apartment in LA, and I
like
remember.
Santa Monica, like
yeah. I mean,
wow,
right,
really
right
hard.
there. Yeah, right there.
That's like where my best friend lives.
And I would walk my dog Merlin, the border collie, R.I.P. And I remember walking and getting whistled at. Like
what's going on?
Women. This was like the early aughts, but like women never have whistled at me.
No, women don't really do that.
No, much to my chagrin. I would give anything for a woman to whistle at me. But yeah, I was like, why are these guys? I'm getting hit like all these men, like from their balconies, and I'm just like, what, from these apartment balconies. And
did you eventually realize like what was going on?
You want to know how I finally like registered? I mean, this all happened. Like I figured this out within like 5 days of living there. It'd be pretty hard. But I was walking my dog and I was standing at the corner waiting for a light to change. And some car pulled up and the guy rolled his window down and shouted a gay slur at me. Like, which, by the way, that's the only time I ever saw anything like that happen. I think it was pretty rare. But the guy was just like pulled up and I like had headphones on. So I was like, what? And I was like looking behind me. Like, did I piss this guy off? Like, what are you calling me an F-A? I'm not going to say it, but you can guess.
Absolutely.
Like, yeah. So I'm just like, I was like, oh. And then like, I thought about it for a minute.
You looked around, you were like, gay bar, gay bar, gay bar.
And like all these guys are whistling at me and like giving me the eye.
See, people don't do that in West Hollywood anymore because now the gays are buff. Now the gays are fucking like, you don't really have bears there anymore. You've got like dudes who go to Soul Cycle, like dudes who like my best friend who lives in West Hollywood, very handsome young guy. He's always been, he's never been like not fit, always been good looking.
Yeah,
in the last like year, started going to Soul Cycle, started lifting, and he is like the fucking, like he's buff, he's tan, he looks like fucking Hercules now. Cause like in West Hollywood, this is what the gays are like gods. You go to West Hollywood, it's just like a bunch of dudes with their fancy dogs, just like tan, buff, like just the most beautiful men you've ever seen. And like if someone were to call them an F slur, like they might get jumped and they might deserve it.
Yeah. I mean, they call it church, right? That's like their joke. Like it's like instead of going to church, they go to the gym. But
yeah,
I think what happened to me as a result of living in West Hollywood is that I started to, like, I look to gay men to figure out like how to like dress. And I mean, not that I dress like a gay man. I wear a t-shirt.
No, but like that's what you like. If you don't have like a wife or girlfriend who is dressing you, and if you do, listen to her, let her dress you. She knows what she's doing. But if you don't, like, looking to gay men is a great thing to do. They know how to groom themselves. They know how to fucking shower regularly. They know how to wear, like, a nice outfit that fits them well. Like, that is, like, straight men, if you were, like, looking for, like, fashion advice, You don't have to dress like a gay man. You don't have to wear like a netted shirt or anything like that. But like gay men know how to dress themselves in a regular way that it's nice.
Right. Yeah. I'm not wearing a mesh tank top or anything, but
I mean, you could. It might be a good look.
I wouldn't look good in a tank top. But I feel like whenever I go to Palm Springs, I'm just like, every gay man in Los Angeles has a place out here and is wearing a tank top everywhere you go. So
yeah, 100%.
All right. So is that what? How did we even get onto that topic? Where were we? Oh, Macy Gray with Ozempic.
Oh yeah, right.
I don't know. Use Ozempic if you want to. I don't give a shit. It's not my life. It's not my life.
Brad says you can. So if anybody was holding off on using Ozempic, waiting for Brad's approval, you may now inject the Ozempic.
That's right. That's right. I give you the official blessing of this show.
A lot of people have been waiting for that. Let's see. What is our next story? Khloe Kardashian hosts extravagant Two-osaurus birthday party for her son Tatum. Two-osaurus.
All right.
Is so fucking still. You can't just call it like a dinosaur themed birthday party. Like, what the fuck? Like,
there's got to be a name for all. It's
also like he's 2 years old. He doesn't even like it. He doesn't even want it. Like, what?
I mean, he doesn't know he doesn't know what he's 2. He doesn't know anything.
Yeah, he doesn't know anything about shit. It's for the grown-ups. Like, let's see. The backyard was decked out with multicolored balloon arrangements, life-size dinosaur sculptures, and pool floats. Life-size dinosaur sculptures. This is fucking insane. They have like a Yoshi egg that is the size of her child.
No, I mean I can speak to this.
Party cost $40,000.
Yeah, I've been to parties like this, believe it or not. Just because when your kids are in school in Los Angeles, you'll get invited to some rich person's house for a birthday party, like a kid birthday party.
I went to parties like this when I was little.
Well, listen, I didn't. When I grew up in the Midwest, you had a fucking sheet cake in somebody's basement and maybe some candles, and that was it. And you played like pin the tail on the donkey and you went home.
Yeah.
Like, this is absurd and very classist, and like I fucking hate it, and I think it's outrageous and obnoxious.
I mean, the kids end up doing what you just described, like at the party anyways. They're all just going to be playing pin the tail on the donkey or fucking like throwing a ball to each other. Like, they don't care.
They're shitting their pants. They have no idea what's going on. They're two. And like, but it's for the parents though. That's the thing. It's like a show of wealth, basically. Right. And
that's all it is.
You go to one of these parties. Like, I've been to a kid birthday party where there was a DJ, like 2 food trucks, and like open bar. It's like noon.
And like the kids just want to watch Frozen and eat pizza. That's all they want to do.
Yeah, there's like people valet parking, and fucking there's like there's like an official bartender on staff who's like there.
What's the point of a party like that without drugs?
There probably were drugs, I mean, for all I know. Like, sometimes you go to parties in LA and there'll be like a little table and there'll just be like I've been to parties like this where there's like a wine glass and then there's just like perfectly rolled joints just like sitting in the glass.
I mean, I've been to parties where it's like every table, it's like perfectly rolled joints in a glass, like alcohol and like cocaine on a mirror.
There's no cocaine at any kid birthday parties I've been to.
I went to a party once at a very wealthy person's house where there was like lines of drugs lined up, and they were like, some of them were in colors where I didn't know what the drug was. I'm like, what is this like bright green powder? I don't even know. Like, that one's cocaine, that one's probably ketamine. Then there's a rainbow assortment of powders. I don't even know what the fuck they are.
Have you done ketamine? I haven't done ketamine. Oh, I don't know anything about it. Doesn't it make you go into the K-hole?
Yeah.
That's all I've heard.
It's interesting because it's like not, like you take like a Xanax or whatever and you can space out and then you'll like fall asleep, or like same with heroin or oxy or whatever. The ketamine's interesting in that like you go into a K-hole where you're kind of like, you don't want to like look at anything. You're kind of just like, you can't do anything besides just stare into space, and it feels really good. And like they use it for therapy too. Like there's ketamine therapy where a doctor puts you into a K-hole basically, and you do therapy in the K-hole, and it's very helpful for some people. But you're not asleep. You can talk a little bit, but like not really. If you get too deep into a K-hole, you can kind of like, you can, but it's kind of like I don't really want to, like but you're not asleep is the weird thing. You don't like really get tired from it. It's like
what's the therapeutic benefit of just being like subverbal and like in a K-hole?
I don't know. but I'm sure a professional could explain it to you. It's like,
Yeah.
it's something about like inhibitions, or like you like get to another part of your brain or something, the rewiring of it. It's like a trauma thing. I think like PTSD like patients can benefit from it, but I don't really understand how. But it feels good recreationally.
I wonder if Khloe Kardashian had ketamine, since it begins with a K. I feel like that should be part of the theme. Like you can go into a K hole.
Kim, Chloe, ketamine.
You can go into a Kim and Khloe Kardashian ketamine K hole at her Tuosaurus birthday
Little
party
bags
for her
with a K
son.
on it. Adorable.
Yeah, I just think, I hope that this, I don't know. Like the thing is, I don't have like a frame of reference for other parts of the country. Like hopefully normal people are just having normal kid birthday
This is
parties.
an LA
And
thing. No one is doing shit like this besides like crazy Los Angeles people.
it's so fucked up. I fucking hate it.
It's really stupid.
All right. Well, I think it's time for Brad Learns. It's time for me to learn something.
Brad Learns.
All right, what am I learning about? Oh, and this is like Mira has a PhD in Army Hammer.
So like, just to preface this, like Brad says this because I can go into like deep K-holes where I'll like obsess over certain things, and the Hammer family is one of maybe the deepest K-hole I've ever gotten into. It's not even just about Army. He's almost like just a small part of the intense research that I've done on this family, largely because they're like a Los Angeles family. You see a lot of things that have like the name Hammer on it, like the Hammer Museum. And so like I won't go deep into the lore because it would take literally the entire episode and maybe more. But like the family goes back far enough that his great-grandpa was an envoy to the Soviet Union. He would bring money from the Soviet Union to the United States to pay Soviet spies. So like that's how deep this family goes.
You have you've told me you have a spreadsheet. You have like a Hammer spreadsheet in Google Docs or something?
I do. It is like maybe 100 pages long at this point. Like I bought this book that is out of print, that is clear that the Hammer family like doesn't want out there, because it's the only book that like really chronicles their whole family legacy from the beginning. It's called Dossier, and it's like this thick, thousands of pages, and it cost me $80 because I could not find it anywhere.
It's thousands of pages.
Read the whole
like more than one,
thing.
like more than 2,000 pages.
I think it's like 2,000 something.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
All right.
It's
That's
fucking
it's a
wild. Like it like his family has done like if you think of like the craziest shit that you can imagine his family has done it, like murder, fucking like covering up murders, like political assassinations. Like they knew Ghislaine Maxwell's family very closely. Like just
Jeffrey Epstein's like Girl Friday or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, just like insane shit. And so it goes all the way down to Armie Hammer, who is an actor who people probably know from, I guess, The Social Network. He was the Winklevoss twins, right? Is that right?
Yeah, he was the Winklevi.
And then people also know him for he was canceled a few years ago because there was cannibal accusations. A bunch of messages came out where he was telling girls, like, I literally want to take your rib out and eat it. I want to grill it on a grill and I want to eat it. He carved his name into a girl with a knife. There's pictures of it. Yeah, this one girl said that she was tied up in a room for like 12 hours, just literally tortured by him for all that time. So he's a really, really bad man.
What the fuck, man?
And he's been doing like an apology tour recently. So he went on Club Random with Bill Maher, which seemed like it just made everything worse for him. It was so bad. Like it was so bad.
Wait, he did Bill Maher's podcast?
Yeah, he did. And Bill Maher was like high and kept being like, oh, like there's a difference between, you know, like BDSM and assault, as if carving someone's name into them with a knife while they're tied up was BDSM. Like it was so fucking weird. It was so weird. Like, Bill Maher, like, loves this guy. And it's just like...
He loves Armie Hammer?
Yeah. He was like, he, like, wanted to be his best friend. It was the weirdest fucking thing. He kept, like, just coming up with these defenses for Armie Hammer that, like, were clearly like kind of making it worse for Army Hammer, where Army Hammer is trying to go and be like, I didn't do any of the bad things, but I did have bad thoughts, and I'm sorry for that. Bill Maher's like, you're innocent. You think you're innocent, right? You're totally innocent. Fuck all those people. Fuck everybody. And like Army Hammer's like, well, maybe not fuck everybody. Like, I'm doing an apology tour and not trying to like go that
Why
far.
is Bill Maher? Why is Bill? I think Bill Maher's making a mistake, and I don't hate
One of many mistakes made in his horrible little life.
I don't. I'm one of the rare people who does not like uniformly across the board hate Bill Maher or his show, but I think like he's probably kind of an ass to deal with. I bet he's not easy to deal with, but
no, certainly not.
I appreciate that his show is like one of the few venues where you can have people from across like the spectrum all in the same space, like having adult conversations without like filters.
Joe Rogan does that.
Yeah, I mean, there's not that many, and
I hate Joe Rogan, to be clear. I hate both of them. I think they're terrible people.
I bet they're both a handful. But anyway, I don't get why Bill Maher would be like
Club
rushing
Random
to the
is so
aid.
weird. Like he's just like there, and he's so drunk, and he's so high, and it's like his shitty house and his shitty chairs, and like it's just like it's just weird.
Why? And it's called Club Random. That's dumb.
It's dumb. It's dumb, and it's weird, and it sucks, and it's bad. Yeah. It's like it's embarrassing.
Like, get a better name, like Otherppl. I mean, come on.
It is, yeah, exactly. Like Otherppl podcast. Hello.
So, but Club Random, it just sounds like you hate yourself if you name your show. I think
he does hate himself. He hates himself a lot. Rightfully so.
Like, the thing, like my feeling about Bill Maher is that like he must have really been bullied as a kid.
That's what they said about school shooters too, and it wasn't true.
He's so angry. He's got so much anger. He's got anger issues, is what I feel like.
He's got serious anger issues, and he really hates women. Like I feel like he hates women.
Yeah, he's got like and this thing about kids. I mean, you don't have to have kids, but he also like hates kids. Yeah. It's like, okay, like tap the brakes, dude. Who gives a shit? Like do what you want to do, but you don't have to like hate children.
Does he like anything? Or does he just
I think he likes being famous and the host of a show. And I will say this in his defense. Like, I think this is where I have like a bit of sympathy for him, is that I think doing political comedy is really a tough gig, because to do it well, you have to basically be willing to be hated by everybody. And I think he is. Like, I think at times, like the left hates him, the right hates him, the middle hates him. What?
There's an earthquake right now. Do you feel it?
No.
It just happened.
Oh yeah, like the cords on my ceiling fan are swinging.
Wow, real Los Angeles hours. So it's a real on-air earthquake.
Yeah, wow, that's a first, I think, for me on this show.
Really?
Let's see. I don't think I've ever had an earthquake happen while I was recording, unless I didn't realize it. But I'm going to go on Twitter. I want to. Usually, Twitter is like immediate, rapid response where everybody talks about it.
Well, it's not up yet. Well, you do that. Let's see. This Army Hammer story. His mother, Drew Hammer, who it's not mentioned in this article, but I know because I'm insane that she is a born-again Christian and really, really intense about it. Like, really intense about it, to the point where, like, she tried multiple, like, more or less exorcisms on Army when he was a kid, because he was getting kicked out of schools repeatedly for arson. He got kicked out of 3 different schools for lighting things on fire. And
as like a what, a
like
teenager?
High school, yeah, in like middle school and high school. And this is what eventually led to them having to move back to the Virgin Islands from Los Angeles. But she, like Army Hammer, told a story once of her pouring oil all over him when he was sleeping, trying to like get the demons out of him. So they've always had a really difficult relationship. But recently...
What the fuck are you talking about? Pouring oil on him?
Yeah.
No wonder he's he's like a sadist. Yeah. Well, I mean, he didn't have a chance. He didn't have a chance.
Never had a chance. His dad's a fucking psycho too. And so, like, basically his dad died recently. And so as soon as his dad died, for some reason, Army and his mom started to get really close, and Army started to seem vaguely religious. And so what seems to have happened is that Army is now on this apology tour where he's talking about how he's sort of found Jesus. He's become sort of religious like his mom. and
Oh
he's
boy.
like discovered that he was sinning or doing bad shit or whatever the fuck. My theory about that is that after his dad died, I'm just based on his past behavior, I think that his dad probably left all of the family money to Army's mom, as like leaving her as the executor of the estate, essentially. And in order for Army to get his inheritance, I think that he probably has to, you know, kiss the ring a bit and be like, I love Jesus now, and I'm going to do an apology tour. Please give me my money. That's my theory.
Yeah. Am I too cynical if I don't believe a word of it? I don't believe he's into
No,
Jesus
I
at
don't believe
all.
it for a second. Not for a second. Absolutely not. I think that he
So
wants a good
it's the
relationship
true.
with his
It's the,
mom.
yeah. I think religion is the true last refuge of the scoundrel. They say
Exactly.
patriotism, but it's
Exactly.
really religion.
And like it's clear that he's been PR trained really intensely, which means that someone was paying to get him PR trained. Someone's paying to fly him out here. Somebody is paying to like have all this shit happen, like to get an agent to book him all of these shows. Like that's coming from somewhere. And I think it's his mom probably. And that's kind of reinforced by this article in which she says that Army Hammer never raped anybody or actually engaged in cannibalism. He only talked about it and thought about it. She says that what he did was morally wrong, but he did not actually hurt anybody, which is just incorrect and insane to say.
Okay, so I should. This is where I should interject and let listeners know that at Mira's urging, I watched the HBO. I think it's a 3-part
I think
docu-series
it's
called
Discover.
It's called House of Hammer.
Yeah, I don't know if it's HBO, but yeah, it's House of Hammer.
No, it's HBO because this is like rated R shit. It's not on Discover
No?
Channel.
Okay, maybe it is HBO then.
Discovery Network is like science shows for children, right? I don't know, but
No, they do like My 600-Pound Life and shit like that.
yeah, but not like some dude tying women up and wanting
Yeah,
to eat them and stuff. Like
yeah,
that's HBO. That's pure
yeah.
HBO.
That
But
documentary.
I did watch it, and it was an eye opener. It's a good, like, it gives you a good primer, though. I think it goes like the whole story goes much deeper than even that documentary.
Yeah, which is shocking because that documentary goes pretty fucking deep into what is insane about his family. But there is even more than that. But like in that documentary, they give you a good like foundation for like what's going on, tell you like how they got their money in the first place, and sort of like all the insane shit that his family
Well,
has done.
they interview these women that he was
Mhm.
with in this late phase
Yeah,
where he was like, one of them, I'm trying to remember, but she was like, yeah, I think it's the one who he tied up for
Effie.
like 12 hours that you were alluding to. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Effie
She
is
was,
her name.
she was terrified.
Yeah, terrified, and you could see it in her eyes. She was fucking horrified, and like Army's the way that he's like saying that like this is not something that actually happened. It was just like talking or whatever. Is because Gloria Allred was her attorney, Effie, the girl who was raped, and then dropped her as an attorney, and all of the charges were dropped, and we don't know why that happened. We don't know if she got an out of court settlement or if she didn't have enough evidence or if other girls wouldn't, I don't know, be in the case also. But because Gloria Allred dropped it, because she dropped the case and therefore Gloria Allred dropped her, Armie Hammer's like, see, it's clearly fake. Gloria Allred wouldn't drop it if, you know, it wasn't fake. But she didn't. The
And we
girl
don't know why.
we don't know why.
I think if they got a settlement, I guess maybe part of the settlement was you just can't even say that you got a settlement.
It's common. You know, you drop the case, you get a settlement, you sign an NDA.
And now he's trying to resuscitate his career.
And
Is it going to happen?
I don't know. I don't think so. But I do think that what's interesting about his apology tour is that if he had done anything less bad than being a cannibal, I think it really would work. Because he is doing like a better apology tour than I've ever seen a canceled person do before. He like is seriously PR trained, and it has like given me more faith in his acting ability. Like he's good at it. He's a good apologizer. He knows how to do it. He knows how to be like, I'm not trying to make myself seem better. Like I did a bad thing. I was wrong. Like I've been dealing with that for a long time. Like he like is doing the best apology tour I've ever seen. And I don't think it's going to work because he's a literal cannibal. But if it was anything less than that, I think that he actually would be forgiven.
You think he's eaten people?
Well, no, But I think that he has taken, I know that from his ex, he has taken an ex to the doctor to see if they would surgically remove one of her ribs for eating, if they could do that safely. So he wanted to.
The fuck do you want to eat? Eat the bone?
He said that he like killed animals as a kid and would like hold the like warm heart in his hand and like loved it. Like this man is a psychopath.
That's like Jeffrey Dahmer shit.
He has all of like the things that serial killers have when they're little kids to show that they're going to become serial killers. Armie Hammer has arson, fucking harming small animals, pissing the bed. Armie has all of them.
Those are the three?
If your kid is doing those three things really intensely, you got to take them right to a therapist because they're going to be a fucking murderer. I mean, the fourth thing is like abuse as a child. So that's.
Yeah, I think that's probably the big one. If your mom's like pouring hot oil on you in the night to try to like shrieking at you about Jesus.
Part of his apology tour has been telling people that he was abused as a child. Which seems very
that's fair.
Gross. I mean, it's like gross to do as an apology tour thing out of nowhere.
But I get it. Yeah, I mean, it could be opportunistic, but I think that if you're trying to genuinely explain yourself to people and maybe explain yourself to yourself, you have to at some point reckon with the fact that you were abused, grew up in a
part of why the apology tour is so good. Part of why it actually like he's doing a really good job. It's not going to work because he was a literal cannibal, but if it was anything besides that.
But he didn't eat anybody. You just said he just wanted to.
I mean, he didn't literally eat anybody because there's nobody he like murdered and you'd have to do that to eat them, you know? But he expressed them.
What the fuck are we talking about? This is fucked up. Like
the Cannibal Cop. Do you remember the Cannibal Cop?
No.
No? There was this cop who was arrested because he was on all of these forums and he was making plans to eat his wife. He would talk about it in great detail. He was like talking to people, making plans to like eat his wife. He never did it, but he went to jail anyways because he was clearly planning on it. And like, as far as I can tell, Armie did the exact same thing.
He was like maybe coming close to doing it.
Yeah.
He's just like psychotic. It's like a psychotic fucking obsession.
There was a while there where he was totally like MIA. No one knew where he was. And he has spent all of that time like in this weird half-built motel in the middle of the desert. And it's like, no one knows really what he was doing there. I'm not saying that he killed anybody.
And
but like he brought women there
like S&M
all the time.
Like he wants to be the dominant partner or whatever. That's what he likes that. He likes to be in total control of people, like physically and otherwise.
Right. Yeah. And he's painting it like it's like a fetish, like it's BDSM. But anyone who knows anything knows that like BDSM is consensual. So it's clearly not that. Like he's into something much fucking
the thing is, when I watched that documentary, these girls are like starstruck by him. And he is objectively very handsome. Like he's a beautiful looking human being, right? He got like all the classic good looks of like a Hollywood leading man.
Absolutely.
And he's rich and he's like fawning over these women. So they're totally bowled over by him. And then slowly but surely, he's like, by the way, you know, if you wouldn't mind, I'd love to like, you know, I want to eat your rib and tie you up and all this stuff. And so he sort of seduces these girls and then they realize that they're in like a weird situation almost when it's too late or whatever.
And like some of them talked about him bringing them out to the middle of the desert and then being like, well, I guess I'm in the middle of the desert now. And he's being a psychopath to me and there's nowhere I can go.
Yeah. Scary.
I'm looking at this article here that says that Armie Hammer's ex-girlfriend claimed that Armie Hammer's mom once told her to be careful around Armie because he has demonic behaviors.
It's usually a red flag.
So even his mom agrees.
So fucked up. I want to say he lived not far from here. Like used to, at least.
Oh, he did. He like when he was in LA with his wife. Because when he was moving out, he had these like mannequins that were all tied up with ropes that he just like threw in the trash can. Everyone's like, what the fuck is that?
You saw pictures of this?
Mm-hmm. You can find them if you look it up. They're public.
You know, guy's messed up. I don't know. I feel like Hollywood is such a like. I feel like our celebrity culture is so sick that like maybe there will be like some sort of like.
The weird thing about his family,
I'm just
yeah,
thinking like maybe there'll
like
there'll
people
be like a
will.
morbid fascination. Like, yeah, let's put this guy back in the movies. He'll be in. You know what he should do is he should try to get back into horror films because he's basically like American Psycho come to life. Like that's the energy. He's got
I
Patrick Bateman
mean,
energy.
I guess the issue is though that like he's like a danger to people on set potentially. Like he's like an insurance issue on set at this point. Like if someone was going to hire him, it would have to be somebody who is like really doesn't give a fuck.
That's true. Imagine being
Which I guess exists.
like,
Maybe some weird European
yeah, you're
director.
some young starlet, and they're like, yeah, you're going to be in this movie with Armie Hammer. It's like I would be like, dude,
Oh my god. Yeah, being in like a romantic role with Armie Hammer, like Jesus Christ, I'm in danger 100% of the time. Like it's fucking terrifying.
yeah,
That's like, ugh.
he's probably
Yeah, I mean that's where I say like if it was anything besides cannibalism, you know, he could be like, I reformed myself, I fucked up. But like you really can't get out of cannibalism very easily.
I think that's a good place to end. That's like the lesson that it's one of the immutable laws of being a celebrity. Is that you can get away with almost anything, but if you get into cannibalism, that's a career ender.
That's a career ender. You could be O.J. Simpson and murder your wife, and you know people will maybe be okay with you for the next 5-10 years. But if you ate her,
you're out.
Nope.
You're done.
You would have been convicted if you ate Nicole Brown Simpson.
I mean, I don't understand. I don't understand any of it, but I especially don't understand wanting to eat a human being.
I can't even watch horror movies with cannibalism in it because it makes me nauseous.
As it should.
Yeah,
like it's gross.
As it should.
It's like
it's not normal.
that's the litmus test for if you're like a decent human being. Is if like watching somebody eat another person is nauseating. If it's not, you might want to get your head checked. So,
and if you disagree with us, feel free to send us a message and we will read it out next week.
Yeah.
Please send us your arguments that are pro-cannibalism and we'll discuss it.
Well, it's always fun. And if you want to learn more about the Hammer situation, that documentary, House of Hammer, is worth checking out. But
feel free to ask me questions about the Hammer family. I will answer all of them.
If you are a journalist or an author interested in writing about the Hammer family, Mira is the country's leading Hammer scholar and would be happy to be a source. She will share her Google spreadsheet with you where she has tracked.
I'll show you my book full of notes and highlights and, Post-its and whatnot. I was never paid for this.
That's right. Well, Mira, it's always a pleasure. It's always a joy to speak with you about the culture, and I look forward to doing it again next week.
Same. See you next week.